Hello, and welcome to the Symphony. Symphony Entertainment Gaming and Arts is a gaming company that focuses on horror systems, indie games, organic content, and player agency to bring a symphonic approach to horror role-playing. Today, we'll be playing through Alone Against the Flames, a solo adventure for Call of Cthulhu published by Chaosium. One quick announcement, Symphony Entertainment has a Patreon. If you like this content and you'd like to help us create more, please back the Symphony on Patreon at patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. As for me, hi, I'm Steve Anderson. I'm an actual play performer, a TTRPG fanatic. You'll find me playing and running games and doing video production, live stream production, podcast editing for TTRPG content all over Twitch and YouTube. Horror fans, and Call of Cthulhu fans in particular, are most likely to recognize me from the Miskatonic Playhouse. You can find me on the socials at Tall Halfling, sometimes Tall Halfling RPG. One more thing before we start. Alone Against the Flames is part of the Call of Cthulhu starter set. It's designed with brand new players in mind, so it explains the basic rules as you go along. I'm going to skip over some of those explanations tonight. But if you want to learn Call of Cthulhu, or you have friends who want to learn, please know that they are in there. Alone Against the Flames is a great place to start. You don't have to know anything about the system before diving in. I think that's kind of cool. And with that, well, got my book, got a blank character sheet. Most importantly, I have all of you in chat so you can help me make some bad decisions. But that's what TTRPGs are all about, right? So let's get started. Alone Against the Flames. The sun is high in the sky, a merciless ball of heat. You feel scorched by the time you reach the bus halt in front of Osborne's drugstore. It's a relief to put down your heavy cases and take off your hat for a moment. You fan your face. It's been a long summer here in your hometown, yet a curiously empty one. You look across the street at the grubby butcher's shop, the grocer's with its faded awning, and the shabby tobacconist. Mistrustful faces glare at you as they pass, eyeing your clothes and luggage. It was your parents' choice to live here, not yours. You were happy down south as a child, among Providence's white-walled houses and leafy churchyards. Perhaps this new job in Arkham will supply the change you need. Yet everybody you know in the world lives here. You know nobody in Arkham, not one soul. You ask yourself one last time if you're doing the right thing. The answer is here. None of your supposed friends have come to see you off. You're alone. Whatever challenges lie in Arkham, it'll be a new life, and a brave one. A small gray motor coach approaches and rattles to a stop. You put your hat back on and pick up your cases. Go to 263. 263. Two young men with sullen expressions alight from the coach. One looks you up and down before heading away. The driver also steps down, glancing at you before crossing the road to visit the tobacconist. When he returns, he's rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. He gives it a final twist and examines you as he reaches for his matchbox. He's a thin man in his 50s, dressed in a stained shirt with the bus company emblem. Yet his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. "Where to?" You show him your ticket for Ossipee. From there, you will connect to Rochester and Portsmouth before the coastal line to Newburyport, and finally, Arkham. You should be able to afford a rail ticket for at least some of the way. Otherwise, this will be the first of many long bus trips. The driver scratches the match and lights his cigarette. The end flares as he takes a draw. Then he exhales and gestures to the back of the coach. "Luggage rack's up there." So here is our first bit of mechanics. We need to come up with our stats so we know if we're strong enough to lift the luggage up into the rack. So we have strength, constitution, power, dexterity, appearance, size, intelligence, and education. And we have values that we need to fill in: 40, 50, 50, 50, 60, 60, 70, 80. So my question to chat is, what are we best at and what are we worst at? We'll fill in everything else in between. I love the idea that you start with a blank sheet. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you are. Low POW, high strength. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go for 80 strength and 40 POW. And then we'll have some 50, 50, 50, and 60, 60, and no, not 770. Okay. All right. So when you've done that, we go to number 8. Driver smokes and watches as you drag your cases to the back of the motor coach. The rack is set inconveniently high on the vehicle. You get a grip on the heavier case. If your size is 40, go to 23. If your size is higher than this, go to 38. Our size is 50. So we go to 38. The driver continues to enjoy his cigarette, watching with keen interest as he struggled with the cases. You grit your teeth and heave the second one into place. Perhaps the residents of Arkham will have better manners. We go to 233. The driver flicks his cigarette into the gutter and steps into the motor coach. Its engine coughs into life. You board, grateful that you will be the only passenger for the initial part of your trip at least. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of your old home slip behind you, receding into the distance. For a few minutes, you can still see the church spire over the brow of a low hill. Then the road dips, and it too is gone. Arkham is your new home. You will travel there and make a new start. We are filling in our half values and our fifth values using a automatic character sheet that does the math for me, so I don't have to worry about that. Beginning SAN is equal to your POW, so that's 40. Beginning magic points are the same value just assigned for POW divided by 5, so that would be 8. Not that I'm really expecting to use magic points in a solo adventure, but so be it. Mark these tracks. Let me go on. The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling, and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. However, the driver opens his window, and by switching seats, you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You soon relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves. A heavy-set woman boards at one settlement and gives you a polite nod. She gets off at the next one. The road rises a little, passing cornfields and orchards. The leaves are turning, and the trees are alive with glorious reds and golds. You've just begun to doze when the driver takes a tight bend at speed. Add size and con together. 50 and 50, so 100. Divide by 10, so 10, and that's our starting hit points. The fact that we are calculating our starting hit points while making a tight turn is worrying me. You also have a luck score, so we roll 3d6 times 5. We've got 11 times 5, so 55 luck. There we go. Now, you must make a roll against your dex. So we roll 1d100. 24 versus a dex of 60. Woohoo! Pass the roll. If you pass the dex roll, go to 261. A desperate yell awakens you. You feel yourself slide from the seat as the driver spins the wheel and the motor coach plunges off the road. You grab hold of the seat in front just in time to prevent a painful fall. The coach stops with a thump. Now you see what has happened. A Fordson tractor has stopped in the road, and your driver has had to swerve to avoid this steel obstacle. He leaps from his seat into the road, unleashing a string of curses at the farmer. You take a moment to catch your breath. Perhaps you should offer assistance? But the driver has already returned. He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. Go to 71. You resume your journey. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple times. Sorry about before, he says. That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. What's your name? The accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, but it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize the man while he's driving you through the middle of nowhere. Make up a name for your character. So, chat, what do you think? Who are we? What is our name? And while you're thinking about that, the coach turns onto a narrower road which weaves uphill through woodland. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham. Can't say I ever heard of the place. I went to Boston once. Didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. Hey, you got family there? Special someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. A job, huh? What's your line? So, looking at chat, I think I like Elijah. That works for me. Elijah Rutherford. And since he's asking about our job, that's our next choice. We can be an antiquarian, a doctor of medicine, a journalist, a private investigator, or a professor. What do you think? Antiquarian, medical doctor, journalist, PI, or professor? Looks like the first thought was an antiquarian, but now we got two for journalist. Okay. Antiquarian or journalist? Antiquarian or journalist? This is the 1920s. It is the age of the antiquarians. Okay. All right. We're going to go with antiquarian. If I can spell that. There we go. All right. So antiquarian, we go to 102. You mentioned the assistant's position you were offered at Arkham Rare Books and Maps on the strength of a recommendation by a distant friend of the family. Thinking about the treasures that must pass through that shop returns some of the excitement you felt upon receiving the letter of appointment. You feel a tingle in your palms. You can't wait to get started. Books. Silas takes the conversation no further. You get the feeling he's not much of a reader. Your credit rating skill for an antiquarian is 20%. Your occupation skills are appraise, arts and crafts, specify a particular one, history, library use, other language, specify one, spot hidden, and one of either charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. And then we can pick one other skill as a personal specialty. We are an antiquarian, so I'm going to say we are very, very good at history. We have 70, 60, 60, 50, 50, 50, 40, and 40. All right. Appraise. That seems reasonable. Art craft. Say, give that the other 6. Give that a 50. Throw 60 into spot hidden. Art craft. Specify one. I'm going to say bookbinding. Library. Art craft. History. Library use is also going to be a 50. Other language. Language own. Language other. Antiquarians, we're going to go Latin. Charm, fast talk, intimidate, or persuade. Somehow I can't see our antiquarian being terribly intimidating, so we'll go with a little bit of persuade. And then we have one more skill. One more skill that we can choose that's going to be at a starting value of 40. Anything except Cthulhu Mythos. Jump. All right. As the Doors once said, might as well jump. Okay. Then we go to 128. All right. You realize Silas hasn't made a stop since the incident with the tractor. The motor coach winds its way uphill. However, your thoughts are interrupted as the road crests a ridge and you're treated to a magnificent view of the vista below. A creek snakes through the valley, breaking the rich autumn palette of the tree line. In the distance, the white mountains rise into hazy cloud. There's no settlement, not even a cabin as far as the eye can see. Birds drift through the tree tops, and you can just make out what might be two white-tailed deer lingering by the water. Perhaps you're making a mistake by moving to the city. Could you survive on your own in this lush wilderness? You have a base ability in most skills with brackets. For example, you have 20% in climb, base dodge equal to half your dex. So we choose 4 skills, which are not our occupation skills. And I'm guessing we will find out whether any of them turn out to be survival related. So what else are we good at? We had some thoughts for drive. We had some thoughts for throw. And drive auto starts at 20, so it's now 40. Throw starts at 20, so it's now 40. Psychology. It's always a good one. Starts at 10, so it's now 30. And one more, performance. All right. Performance. Okay. Huh. Okay. Yeah, let's say we're working on a book, so we're going to take an art craft of 20. There we go. Okay. Where were we? There we go. 144. The motor coach rattles on through the hills, and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee. Perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop while you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from a rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. You must now choose to make a roll against drive auto or psychology. We took some psychology, so we have a 30. If you choose psychology, you need a hard success. Okay, this could be interesting. Roll. Okay, that is a 12. 12 under 30. That is, in fact, a hard success. You sense a falseness to Silas's actions. He's acting. Either he's not as aggravated about the breakdown as his behavior suggests, or perhaps the breakdown itself is an act. Yeah, if this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, he will be sadly disappointed in your purchasing power. Checkmark the small box to the left of psychology to potentially increase that later. Go to 194. Silas opens the engine compartment and sticks his head inside. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws and wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure, might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools, neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. He wipes his hands on a rag. The shadows from your surroundings are already long, and the air is chilly. You feel stiff. Excuse me. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in the rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Emberhead. Miles or many place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning. See how as we stand. To look for May Ledbetter's house, we go to 267. To ask Silas where he will spend the night, go to 251. Or to challenge Silas about the breakdown, go to 257. We're going to the house he recommends? Are we asking him where he's going? Or are we confronting him about this breakdown? What do you think? Yeah, I agree. Too much spitting. Confront. Okay. We challenge Silas about the breakdown at 257. You confront Silas with your suspicions. His brow darkens, and he shows a mouthful of twisted teeth. Ain't that just like you city types, he spits. Spitting again. Thinking the worst of a man after he's gone out of his way to attend to your comfort. He stalks around to the back of the coach and hands your bags from the rack, dumping them on the ground at your feet. Take 'em. Otherwise, I guess you'll be accusing me of thievery in the morning. He marches off into the darkness, raging. It could have gone better. Go to 267. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary, considering you've spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath, a sign in neat copperplate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. Not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door. We go to 4. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back, and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and a rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt. Oh, hello. Shall I take it you're looking for a room for the night? I apologize for my Irish accent, but here we go. You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer you many alternatives. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I may. Come inside. We'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped, with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept, and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of the tea is soothing, and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? Asks May. To explain what happened with Silas and the coach, go to 14. To ask about the festival, go to 21. So, we talking about us, or are we finding out about this town? Ask about the festival. Okay. All right. Well, I suppose the festival's all about the only reason folks come to Amberhead. I thought you'd maybe come to study it or take photographs. Well, tomorrow night, but the night after. Oh, it looks very strange to a passerby. May tops up your tea. The spout chinks against your cup. Oh, we've got the beacon, you see. One night every year there's a torchlight procession, and we light the beacon on the cliffs. Never seen the like of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration. She tails off for a moment and blinks. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather. You must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be? You ask again about her rates, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, the stew dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. To talk to May some more, we go to 31. To walk around and get your bearings, go to 75, or to turn in for an early night, go to 63. Talk to May, walk around, turn in early. What do you think? Walk around and snoop. Walk around. All right. Walk around and snoop. Okay. 75. May's brow creases when you announce your intention to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she says. Amberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. Outside, you see what she means. The sky is overcast, and only a few glimmers of moonlight peek from the clouds. Without the heavy lantern, you will be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. May Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark dwellings. At the end, however, it opens up. A wide thoroughfare leads off to your right. A crude sign names it Silbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks out the crooked posts of a simple fence. And beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face. Then some instinct makes you look around. Go to 86. Okay. An ink-black figure stands in the road, about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form the sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you over the cliff edge. This is unsettling. Seeing it has been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. To return to the safety of the Ledbetter house, go to 100, or to confront the dark figure, go to 121. We confronting, or are we backing off with our tail between our legs? One vote for chase it. Everybody else is a little, okay. Confront. Okay. Seek the peril. I like that. As you approach, the figure takes a pace back, then another. It slips down an alley between two buildings. To catch your target, you must make a track roll. Track. We have nothing in track, which means it is a base 10%. Yeah, that's a 75. The figure moves fast, with almost silent steps. You are hampered with a heavy lantern in an unfamiliar environment. You emerge from the alley into a dusty courtyard and detect no sign of your quarry. You scratch around for a few minutes, but the figure is gone. It seems unwise to continue your stroll through unknown dark streets while this threatening presence is abroad. You head back to the Ledbetter house. May lets you in and settles back in her chair. Soon she begins to yawn. Believe I'll turn in. When would you like your breakfast? We go to 63. As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door securely closed. May tuts. Oh, the young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guest. There's a short pause, and then the door creaks open. Two wide eyes peer at you from the gap between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What do you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you? Now, get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter, Ruth, 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It's a little chilly, but you're too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean, and the bed soon warms up. Bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. Go to 154. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they're tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you've taken any damage, you may heal 1 hit point back from your night's sleep. We haven't gotten hurt as yet. We go to 166. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30, you are paid up, packed, and ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. If you succeeded at a skill roll last night and wish to investigate the results further, go to 178. Otherwise, go to 192. I know you succeeded at some things. I'm not sure if it's asking about something in particular. So I will hold on to number 166 in case we need to come back. Okay, yes, here we go. 178. You retrace your steps of last night. A few villagers watch with polite curiosity as you thread your way along the northern cliffs, bags in tow. In time, you think you've found the spot. Heart thudding in your chest, you peer over the edge. Nothing. With the benefit of daylight, you see the cliff is not the bottomless drop you imagined. It leads to a shelf some 20 yards below. It could still be a lethal tumble, but you see no body, no blood. Not sure if this is where we were supposed to come, but we make a spot hidden roll. And sorry about that, folks. A skill check last night is a little bit more vague than I would have liked. So that is a 56, and we have 60. All right. Your keen eyes pick it up after a couple of minutes of scanning the cliff face. There are a series of protruding rocks, combined with what looks like man-made incisions. The effect is an ingenious hidden stairway that leads down the cliff. No doubt the dark figure used this to descend safely. You look along the lower shelf. You see only a few drab shacks off to your right. Hell, this might have been an interesting find, were you not about to leave Amberhead for good. You have discovered a secret. If you ever need to climb or descend this northeasterly cliff, the text will offer you a hint. At that point, if you want to try the staircase, add 100 to your current entry number and go to that new entry. If the new entry does not seem to fit, you should return to your original entry and carry on. All right, so keeping a note on this. Staircase down cliff. We add 100. All right. We restore a sanity point, but we haven't lost any. You may check the small box beside Spot. And then we go to 192. You're already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sour puss he might be. The old driver seems to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. You put your bags down and search the area, trekking up and down slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There's no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the boss? Oh, I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, may Ledbetter rents a room. The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. Curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts? You wonder if the old goat is stranded, you hear, on purpose. Go to 218. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Oh, maybe you could find someone with a horse and a cart for your bags. Could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among them the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry, I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank May and turn to face the village. We go to 6. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived on the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open, grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the 3 main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms stark against the blue sky. Now we have a bunch of choices. You may now ask about transport at the local general store, seek out the village hall, walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road out of town, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, or look for some local people with their own transport needs. So, what is our strategy? Ask about transport at the local general store, seek out the village hall, walk down and check out the road out of town, examine the metal structure, explore the church, or look for local people with their own transport needs. Structure, structure, structure. Okay. Silas is trying to matchmake for Mrs. Ledbetter. I could work, could work. I mean, you seem to get along with the with your future stepdaughter. All right. So far, got two thoughts for the structure. All right. Let's go examine the large metal structure. You walk up the approach, the most central of the village's major streets. It points directly at the odd metal structure. As you emerge from the shade of the nearby buildings, you're greeted by a magnificent panorama spread from the north to the southeast. The last colors of fall tint the hills in a sleepy gold. The structure, by contrast, is made from uncompromising iron, tinged black. It supports an immense curved platform at the level of your head. Further struts snake up to a central point. It looks like they may have been some kind of sculpture at one time, but are now twisted and melted beyond recognition. An older gentleman passes, looking up at you with rheumy eyes. Are you here for the festival? He asks. That's the beacon. When they light it, night after next, you'll be able to see it 10 miles away. He gives a little nod of satisfaction and moves on, leaning on his walking stick. Now you notice bundles of wood tied and stacked against the buildings nearby. Perhaps this festival would be an interesting diversion, but you really must head to Arkham as soon as possible. Make a spot hidden roll. 38 under 60. If you succeed, go to 69. As you walk away from the iron structure, you notice something strange about the construction of the village. All the wooden dwellings are concentrated in the west and southwest. To the east and northeast, closest to the beacon, the buildings are formed from dark brick and clay. Does this mean the settlement began at the beacon and spread west? You may checkmark the small box behind spot hidden we already have, and then we go to 25. You're beginning to get your bearings, said Amberhead. Would you like to explore some more? You may choose another option from those below. Do not repeat a previous choice. Once you've tried 4 options, or before that if you're ready to move on, we go to 3. So our options: ask about transport at the local general store, seek out the village hall, walk down to the lower level and check out the eastern road out of town, examine the large metal structure, which we've already done, explore the church, or look for local people with their own transport needs. Okay, we got 2 votes for the church, 1 for go west. General store, village hall, road out of town, church, or talk to some locals and see how they get in and out of town. Okay, we've got still a couple thoughts for church, so let's go check out the church. You cross the street towards the church. As you glance to your left, your gaze alights on a large metal structure. Something bothers you about its positioning. You back up and look again. Yes, Emberhead's central thoroughfare points directly at the structure. Seems too precise to be a coincidence. You press on and draw into the shadow of the church. The building is in a sorry state. The top of the steeple is missing, a ragged gash of splintered boards marking its absence, and the floors beneath it have collapsed. It appears to have torn through the roof of the main building as it fell. Only the back half is still intact. The white paint which once covered the church has yellowed and peeled. It seems safe enough to explore the rear section. Old pews are stacked against the wall, choked with mildew. Most of the windows are broken. You guess this church has been disused for about 20 years? There's little more to interest you. Make a ride roll with a bonus die. Okay. Our ride is 5%. So even with a bonus roll, this is not going to go well. 86 and 66. No. Okay. So we go back to 25. All right. So we've already looked at the metal structure. We've already checked out the church. So our other options, well, one of our options is to just move on. But we can ask about transport at the general store. We can seek out the village hall. We can check out the road out of town. We can talk to some locals. What do we think? What do we think? Meet some NPCs, meet some NPCs. Give me that old-time religion. It's good enough for me. Okay. Talking to some locals. Not far from the Ledbetter house, on the north side of Silbury Street, there's an open courtyard. The rhythmic tattoo of a hammer seems to announce your approach. The courtyard is the busiest location you've yet seen in Emberhead. It's bordered by a ring of workshops. Some are brick buildings, some only rough huts. A blacksmith ceases to hammer, thrusting something red and glowing into a bucket of cold water. A weaver looks up from his loom, blinking at you a moment before returning to his shuttle. A potter, engraver, and carpenter each work in their own spaces, exchanging friendly banter. You move among the artisans, chatting about their work. Eventually, you bring up the question of export. Some of them send occasional packages with Silas. Some restrict their custom entirely to villagers. You receive no suggestions about alternative transport. Make a psychology roll. Our psychology is 30. That is a 76. And we go back to 25. So we're back to our choice of different places to investigate. Says once you've tried 4 options, you need to move on. So if we want to check out one more place, we can. That would be the general store to ask about transport, the village hall, the road out of town, or we can move on to number 3. Any thoughts? Okay, we got 2 thoughts for, oh, okay. So we got 2 thoughts for asking about transport at the local general store, 1 for checking out the road out of town. Give you a moment longer to decide if anybody else wants to weigh in. Okay, so now we've got 2 for transport out of town, 3 for the road out of town. Okay. All right, so let's check out the road. The air is fresh, and the walk down to the lower ridge invigorating. You notice cultivated fields stretching through the lowlands around Emberhead, and among the crops some livestock, but no horses. You're going to have to make your onward journey on foot? Yeah. Further down, the road skirts the edge of the ridge and descends. There are a few scattered hovels here with signs of habitation. They're set a substantial distance apart. As you examine them, a door opens, and an older man steps out. He wears a bedraggled suit, but carries a piece of cloth, which he tosses over his head like a hood. As he does this, he sees you and freezes. Make a luck roll. It's a 36, and our luck is 55. All right, so we go to 127. The man looks up at the village, scanning the cliff tops. You get a brief flash of his face. There's something unsettling about it. Then he turns to walk away from the road, but as he does, he raises a hand and slowly beckons to you. If you follow the strange man, turn to 142. If this seems unwise, turn to 160. I have to say, I want an option if both things are true. If you follow him and you think it seems unwise. Okay, follow. All right. Let's follow the man. I still say it does seem unwise, but we're going to follow the strange man. You follow the man around the outcrop. He glances up, then steps between two rocks and vanishes. Closer inspection reveals a narrow channel leading into the cliff. There's just enough light to see a small, natural chamber within. You'll be uncomfortably close to this man if you go inside. To follow him in, turn to 191. To keep your distance, turn to 160. We seem to be the kind of person who sticks with things and is not easily dissuaded, so I think we're going to follow him in. With wary steps, you squeeze between rocky outcrops and enter the concealed chamber, almost banging your head on the low ceiling. The man settles back against the wall and watches until you draw close. Then he slides back his hood. Make a sanity roll. Uh-oh. Okay, that is a 52, and our sanity is 40. Okay, so we lose one sanity. Our sanity is now 39, and we go to 199. What on earth did we see underneath that hood? Some of the man's face remains. That is not a promising beginning. Some of the man's face remains. The strip from the side of his jaw to his right eye socket is healthy and pale if aged, but the left side is consumed by angry scar tissue. One eye droops, hooded by melted flesh, and the nostril on that side is pulled open to leave a gaping hole. The disfigured man studies your reaction with his one good eye. Name's Arbogast. Willard Arbogast. Yes, I don't need to ask what brings you to Emberhead. If you claim to have come for the festival, go to 206. If you admit that Silas has stranded you here, go to 214. We want to tell this guy that we're here for the festival, or that we got stranded here and we're stuck. Admit, stranded. Okay. All right, we admit that we're stranded. Um, 214. Ah, okay. I'm glad I checked. I was about to read you the wrong section. 214. That swollen mouth gives a little twist downwards. Son of a bitch, bitch's rat's blood. His fingers tighten into a fist. 221. Arbogast fixes you with a lopsided yet intense stare. You seek me out, huh? He looks up at the cave ceiling. Which one of them told you about me? Never mind, don't matter. Truth is, they fear what I know. They'd never come at me direct. Don't want to end up like old Arbogast. He giggles. The high-pitched sound is all the more grotesque coming from those bloated lips. Then, abruptly, his gaze turns to iron. Emberhead died 40 years ago, shattered by flame, consumed by the stars themselves. The ancient hill was cleansed by inferno. From the blackened ground came new life, as is the way of all things. The Abenaki knew. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve. Except none of that happened. Flames were turned away. The necessary death postponed a year, and a year again. And now those up there, he stabs a scrawny finger at the ceiling, think themselves saviors of the village, think they can defy the great old ones. Ah, Cthulhu! He shakes his head. With strange eons, their lives matter less than the blink of an eye. A fierce intelligence burns in his gaze. But you suspect Arbogast may be quite insane. Should his mood change, it would not be difficult for him to seize one of the loose rocks and crack your skull with it. To ask Arbogast about the Abenaki, turn to 227. To ask him about the great old ones, turn to 237. To ask him about the villagers, turn to 245. To leave while you still can, go to 253. So do we ask about the Abenaki, the great old ones, the villagers, or do we get out of Dodge? When you have a chance to ask about the great old ones, and you don't want to insult them by not asking. Ain't nobody leaving while they can. It's much too late for that. Probably. Probably. Oh, okay. So we got one vote for great old ones. We got one for definitely don't ask about any great old ones. All right. Anybody else want to weigh in? Okay. All right. Sorry, Lamb fan. Sounds like the great old ones are the way to go. A smile of sickly rapture comes over Arbogast's scarred features. The great old ones, the Windwalker, Cthulhu, crawling chaos, like the rest of them, spread like gnats upon the earth. You think your actions matter, yes? Your existence matters? He shakes his head. We are the dust that shifts in the breeze, the motes that drift in the last rays of sun. You are nothing. We are nothing. He gathers himself into silence. Just when you think the sermon is over, he stirs. Here you're closest to the living flame, not that belching green column beloved of Kingsport. I mean it which preceded all life on earth, it which lit the void while our world was formed. It has infinite fuel, infinite patience. It will consume all. Arbogast runs a hand through his hair. A wide strip is missing on the left side, displaced by scar tissue. He climbs to his feet. You may permanently add 2 points to your Cthulhu Mythos skill. Okay. And then we go to 259. Arbogast pauses in the shadows. There's something about you, something the previous ones never had. Perhaps you can make it through. If you want to hear more, meet me again after dark, 9 o'clock, graveyard on the other side. He lifts a gnarled finger. Don't be followed, else I won't be there. This ain't the time of year for a showdown. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve again. Go, now, their eyes are on me. Stranger, don't try to run. You'll never make it. You emerge into the sunlight, blinking, and more than a little shaken. You have discovered a secret. Later tonight, the text will offer you a chance to follow up on a previous appointment. At that point, if you want to meet with Arbogast again, add 20 to your current entry number and go to that new entry. Making a note of that. For now, we go to 160. You turn back to the road and your core business, getting out of Emberhead and onwards to Ossipee. The bridge gives you a good viewpoint from which you can see the course of the road. It winds with the hills, disappearing into woodland for a while before emerging further on. You lose sight of it somewhere towards a second patch of woodland. By your best estimation, this is at least 6 or 7 miles distant. You see no other settlements or traffic. It may be worth taking a chance and walking. The weather is still mild, but you will need supplies before you attempt it. So we go to 25. All right, we are back to choosing where to explore, but we have tried 4 options. So we go to 3. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. There's nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown, or anything that might be called a restaurant. It's beginning to look like you will have to get supplies from the general store when May Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. Ah, this must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arms up in celebration. She looks up into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face, and she looks several years older. Get out before the festival, she hisses. Get out. She blinks hard, then scuttles back towards her mother. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulder. She smiles. Oh, how are we getting on? Have you found transport? Startled, you explain the frustrations of the situation. I'd try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in of an afternoon. Oh, you'll be hungry by now. Help yourself to any food in the house. Door's not locked. You glance at Ruth, where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. If you ask Ruth about what she said, go to 9. If you ask May about what Ruth said, go to 15. If you say nothing, go to 22. Ask the kid, ask her mom, or mum's the word. What do we think? One for asking Ruth herself. Ask the kid. All right. Okay. Go to 9. You crouch down and ask Ruth what she meant. It's scary at the festival, Ruth says. It's bright and hot, and the flames go all over. Her face and voice are both childlike. This abrupt shift is disturbing. I suppose all children do unfathomable things. May rolls her eyes and tousles her daughter's hair. Ruth looks at the ground. You go to 22. You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head toward their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view to the mountains. If you learned one thing this morning, it was that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But there are still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hopes of reaching another settlement before dark. Or you could ask advice from this Mr. Winters. If you prepare and walk out of town, go to 28. If you head to the village hall instead, go to 11. You going to talk to Mr. Winters of the village hall, or are we getting out of Dodge? Talk village hall, Winters. All right. Number 11. The village hall overlooks the lower north ridge of the village. You walk along Silbury Street to find it, conscious of the oppressive black metal structure framed at the end of the road. The shutters of the hall are open, and some windows left ajar. There is no knocker, but a little bell over the entrance tinkles as you push the front door. Inside, a sturdy door to your right is marked Private. To your left, an opening leads through to a bright room. You take a few steps inside. Benches line the walls, and there are 2 notice boards mounted between the windows. To examine the notice boards, go to 17. To knock on the closed door, go to 24. Do we check out the notice board, or do we knock to see if Mr. Winters is in? Got 1 for knock, 1 for board. Anybody want to break the tie here? Oh, okay. On second thought, we have board and board. Okay. The floorboards creak beneath you as you cross the room. You feel a slight spring in your step. Perhaps this room is used as a gymnasium for the village children. 1 notice board appears to be for the adults of the community and 1 for the children. The former looks neglected, featuring handwritten advertisements for household items and a yellowed note about telegraph pricing. There's nothing about the festival. The children's notice board has a schedule for weekly creche services and a number of paintings obviously done by the children themselves. Most are incoherent, though colorful. As best you can tell, they depict fireworks, perhaps the tale of Joseph from the book of Genesis. 1 has lost a pin and hangs upside down. It shows a giant bird attacking Emberhead. Or it might simply be that the artist has not yet mastered the subtleties of scale. Make a spot hidden roll. 39, under 60. If you succeed, go to 30. As the afternoon sun hits the floor, you notice something curious. The boards under the windows are newer than the boards in the center of the floor. The frames also show signs of having been replaced in the recent past. Perhaps rain leaked in and rotted the wood? Go to 37. The door scrapes behind you. A middle-aged, bespectacled gentleman appears in the doorway. May I help you? You explain you're visiting on May Ledbetter's recommendation. Oh, I'm Clyde Winters. I'm not sure I can help you, but would you care for some coffee? I'm partial to a cup in the afternoon. He gestures to the open door behind him. Seems like a worthwhile opportunity. You are a little thirsty. We go to 43. You step through the door marked private. The other side of the village hall is in marked contrast to the public space. The room is compact, lined with shelves of books and file alcoves. 1 corner is reserved for a tiny pantry and what is presumably a water closet. You study Mr. Winters as he fills the percolator. Although thin on top, his hair is oiled and neatly swept back. His suit is a sober affair, and well-tailored, even if the cut is a little old-fashioned. A lesser man working alone might have loosened his bow tie for comfort. On the desk, against the opposite wall, you notice what looks like a telegraph set. To ask about the telegraph immediately, go to 56. To make small talk with Mr. Winters first, go to 49. Do we ask about the telegraph, or do we chat him up a little bit? Ask about the telegraph. It's a lamp vamp. Telegraph. Okay. Just as well. Above game. I am inherently uncomfortable with small talk anyway, so that's perfectly fine with me. 56. The telegraph. Much as we value our isolation, we We do need the link sometimes. You were hoping to send a message? I must apologize. The line's been down for 2 weeks. I reported the fault, of course, but they're not so speedy when the problem lies in a rural area. I'm expecting a repair day after next. I do appreciate how frustrating this must be. The coach is due in, 3 days? But I think he's going west. Perhaps you might engage a wagon. One of the farmers might. You explain that you have asked a few of the residents already, to no avail. I tell you what. Winters pours you a steaming cup of coffee. The dark liquid smells rich and strong. When the repair crew arrive, I'll ask them to take you back with them. How would that be? They might want $1 or $2 to grease the wheels. The day after tomorrow. It's less than ideal, but it's the first real opportunity you've had. To thank Winters and leave, go to 180. To ask about his library, go to 62. Thank him and leave, or ask about the library. Personally, it seems a little bit rude not to ask about the library. One of my favorite parts of Call of Cthulhu as a system is the whole idea of library use as a skill. It's okay, Mr. Opinion. We're going to go with your thought. We will ask about the library. You make a small but flattering remark about a couple of the volumes on his shelves. Winters blushes with pleasure. Well, of course, they're not my personal collection. They belong to the village, he says. But I did select most of the recent items. This is the community's library, you see. I put up the private sign to stop people just wandering in from meetings in the other room. This is really a public space. You scan the shelves. There's a sparse but respectable collection on mathematics and the sciences, passable sections on history and the arts, and a shelf of literature. He has a few lowbrow novels tucked away in a corner with tatty copies of Bizarre Tales magazine. Quality does not always equate to popularity, I'm afraid. Winters gives you an apologetic smile. To take the time for some research in the library, go to 68. To leave while it's still light outside, go to 180. For what it's worth, our library skill is 50, so it's a toss-up. Stick around and check out the library. Take off while there's still daylight. Library. Okay. Don't have to twist my arm. 68. Winters is happy for you to spend the rest of the afternoon in study and offers you an upright but comfortable chair. You have enough time to pursue one line of research in depth. To read about the history of the area, go to 74. Excuse me. History of the area. To read about the festival, go to 81. To read something from the sciences, go to 88. To read some of the weird fiction, go to 94. So, history of the area, the festival, the sciences, or some weird fiction. Bridgett says the festival. It's 2 for the festival. Okay, let's see what they actually commit to writing. You're not surprised to find there's no published work on Emberhead's festival. Winters pokes around and finds a cased monograph handwritten on yellowing paper by a Dr. Aniolowski. An acquaintance of my father's, I believe, Winters says. The manuscript is somewhat difficult to read, and you make slow progress. Aniolowski speculates that the festival has its origin in pagan rites brought over by Celtic settlers, which celebrate the ancient festivals of Beltane, Samhain, Imbolc, Lugasa. Sorry, haven't heard of that last one. There is some discussion of the struggle between the seasons and a couple of oblique references to the alignment in Emberhead. Aniolowski suggests that the meaning of the festival slowly changed around the turn of the century. The monograph terminates mid-sentence at the age of page 28, just as it begins to discuss the modern practices. Of course it does. You ask Winters if he has the remaining pages. No, I'm afraid those have been misplaced, he says. Perhaps they're still in the library somewhere, but he shrugs. I must make the time for a thorough stocktake. We go to 99. The afternoon wears on. You've not quite finished your reading when Winters glances out of the window and stands up. He clears his throat. Make a credit rating roll. If you succeed, go to 111. If you fail, go to 105. Our credit rating is 20. And I roll an 11. Huh, okay, if we succeed, we go to 111. I am happy to leave you in charge for a half hour or so, he smiles. Please don't issue any books without a valid library card. You thank Winters for his trust and continue with your reading for a time. As the light dims, you find yourself yawning in the closeness of the room. Perhaps it is time for a change of material. Make a spot hidden roll. Yeah, that's an 82 over 60. If you succeed, go to 118. If you fail, go to 124. The door opens, and Winters re-enters the library. He wears a small, satisfied smile. His gaze shifts to you where you stand at the shelves. Exhausted or stuck already? Well, of course we accept donations. He chuckles. I'm afraid it's closing time. You leave the building with Winters and wait as he locks up. You thank him for the coffee and the access to the library. He strolls away down Silbury Street. We go to 180. As the light fades, you return to the Ledbetter house and eat a light supper. May is unusually taciturn. Ruth's eyes flick to yours several times during the meal. There's an urgency there that you cannot quite interpret. Afterwards, May ushers the girl into their room. You have been in Emberhead for barely one whole day. You already feel confined by it, both geographically and socially. The evening seems to offer little. To do some stargazing, go to 131. To attempt to speak to Ruth, go to 138. If you have a previous appointment, this is the time to follow it up. Our meeting with Arbogast. So we are at 180, so we go to 200. Arbogast is not at the appointed meeting place. You give him 10 minutes, but he doesn't show. You curse the old crank and head back toward May's house. Psst. A hand snakes from a doorway and grabs your arm. You jump at the sight of that half-face glimpsed in starlight. One of them's in the air, he whispers, watching. With me. Go to 169. Arbogast leads you across the thoroughfares, slipping between houses. The metal structure looms at the end of the street. Silent now, he says, but the beacon will come alive tomorrow night. He ushers you into a little alcove behind the village school. Arbogast glances behind you, then sits down. Again, you feel uncomfortable in proximity to that scarred visage. One melted eyelid lifts. You don't have long. Understand this. I was the conduit, the interpreter, for that fool Winters and his fancy words. The things which come to Emberhead care not for words. Those idiots think this is a ritual of sacrifice. He spits on the grass. It is a ritual of control. They know the words, but they do not comprehend the forces they call. He sniffs and sits back. No, you have no time for more questions. I will teach you how to end it in the moment when all is lost. You can return this hill. You can return this hill to the earth, to the death that came 40 years ago. I've tried it myself, but his head sags. I no longer have the concentration. The chant is simple. I can teach you. But you must perform it with a clarity of mind that I have lacked for years. If you will learn this strange chant, go to 175. If you've had enough of Arbogast, go to 182. We want to learn a chant, or are we done with this dude? Learn, spell. Okay. 175. You feel very dislocated from reality as you sit on a cliff top behind a school at night, learning a chant by rote from a madman. Arbogast is careful to teach it to you in sections. He glances into the sky. It won't work right now. Cloud covering the star. But he still takes care not to pronounce the whole thing at once. It has a rhythmic beginning and various elaborations. The core passage is repeated 3 times. I'm not going to attempt to read this to you, but it is very much in the language of Call of Cthulhu. In time, Arbogast listens to your recital and nods. Remember every word, every sound, but never speak it if you have plans left on this earth. You have discovered a secret. If your situation ever becomes desperate enough to try Arbogast's ritual, the text will offer you the option to chant. At that point, if you want to try it, add 10 to your current entry number and go to that new entry. Arbogast leans back. It will make you one with the living. And add 10. Okay. We go to 188. Oh, okay. Okay. A black shape lunges from the dark. It wraps an arm around Arbogast's throat and drags him backwards out of the alcove. He grabs at the arm, kicking empty air. You see the gleam of a long blade in the moonlight. Make a dodge roll. If you succeed, go to 195. If you fail, you go to 203. Our dodge is half of dex, which means it's 30. That is a 52. 203. Something smashes you on the temple. You reel back. You hear Arbogast yell and see the knife flash 1, 2, 3 times, its shiny surface darkening with blood. Something strikes you again, and as you sink, flames leap from the ground, painting the night with infernal color. They pick out 3 dark figures. Take 1d6 damage. Oh, you take 5 damage. Okay, so technically that would be a major wound. I don't think Alone Against the Flames is using that mechanic, because that was a 5. It was 5 out of 10. Go to 45. You awake with a jolt, wrestling the blankets, ready for attack. The Ledbetter guest room is quiet, painted with morning light. There's nobody here but you. You release the blanket and wait for your heart to stop hammering. Go to 64. The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There's a note from May explaining that she has taken Ruth out for a few hours. If you were involved in a fight in the village last night and want to investigate the aftermath, go to 70, otherwise go to 78. We were definitely involved in a fight. You feel skittish as you approach the spot where you and Arbogast were attacked. Your memory of the encounter is shaky, but you remember 1 or 2 vivid images. At first, you think there's nothing to see, no discarded weapons or figures lying unconscious. But upon closer examination, you find sticky, congealed patches and blackened lines in the grass. If the village had a police station, you could go there, but something tells you events have gone beyond that. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. It is rather busy for this time in the morning. Yawning locals stream back and forward along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see 2 figures already up in its superstructure, arranging the wood. The festival bonfire will be most impressive, but do you intend to stay to see it? You suspect by now that something is amiss here. While the villagers are distracted, you may do some illicit investigation, or you may simply leave town without looking back. You may now search May Ledbetter's bedroom, go alone to the village hall, take a closer look at the artisan courtyard, spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down the east road and flee for good. So, search May Ledbetter's bedroom, go alone to the village hall, check out the artisan's courtyard, spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down the east road and flee for good. Got one vote for bedroom. Bridgett says you're not leaving. Why do I think that if we tried to leave, it would not be quite that easy? 83. Despite her hospitality, you do not trust May Ledbetter. You return to her house quite openly. Where else would you go? Inside, the dwelling is still empty. You rap on the bedroom door and wait. Silence. You ease it open. The Ledbetter bedroom is in marked contrast to your own neat space. Dirty clothes are piled about the floor. On a rough quilt lie schoolbooks and cheap novels. You notice a raggedy old doll discovered discarded down the side of the bed. Make a spot hidden roll. Okay, that is a 71 over 60. You know what? I think we're going to spend a little bit of luck here. I'm assuming, having defined luck, that we are allowed to use it. So we succeed, we go to 95. You notice scrapes on the floorboards corresponding to the legs of the bed. With effort, you slide the bed away. There's a rug spread beneath it, and beneath the rug, a trap door. You ease it open. The dark space beneath is some kind of cellar? To descend into the cellar, go to 114. If you would rather give this up, go to 120. We did not seem to be the type of person to give up halfway through something, so I'm going to assume we're going into the cellar. The daylight barely offers enough illumination to see, but a hot lantern during daytime would be very suspicious. You squeeze beneath the floor and glance around. Your first impression is that May keeps her junk here. There are many boxes of different sizes piled in untidy heaps. It takes a few seconds before you realize they're all traveling trunks or suitcases. There are about 20 of them. The implication hits you hard, yet you maintain enough control to check the luggage tags. You count 8 or 9 different names before you stop. Scrambling back up to the bedroom, you close the trapdoor with trembling fingers, returning the bed to its place. Go to 120. You feel a deepening unease about Emberhead and this day in particular. Once you've attempted 3 of the options below, we go to 98. Otherwise, we can search May Ledbetter's bedroom, which we already did, go alone to the village hall, take a closer look at the artisan courtyard, spy on activity at the beacon, or slip down the east road and flee. What are we doing now? Village hall, artist's courtyard, spy on the beacon, or flee out of town? Sounds like we are going to get to try 2 of these things, because we've already tried the bedroom. Spy on the beacon. Okay. 29. The northern side of the village is bustling, and you are unlikely to remain hidden there for long. You head in the direction of the church and then move up the east side behind the houses. A drop looms on your right. One particular section of ground is quite narrow, and you have to hug the building for support. You may give this approach up and go to 120. Proceed, compare size to your dex. If your dex is higher, go to 42. If your size is higher, make a natural world roll. If you succeed, go to 42. If you fail, go to 36. Okay, are we trying to squeeze by on the cliff or not? Our dex is higher, so we would make a dex roll if we're going that way. Yeah, we're making our way to the beacon. We just have to cross this narrow little section along the side of the cliff. So if we want to try it, we make a dex roll. If we're not so sure, we back off and try something else. But as we've discussed, we seem to be the kind of person who, once making a choice, sticks with it, even if it seems unwise. So we will try a dex roll. Ooh. Okay, so that is a 73. On the edge of a cliff, I think we spend 13 points of luck, which takes us from 44 down to 31. Oh, wait a minute. 42. Oh, okay. We may not actually have had to make that. Oh, okay. Didn't actually say to make a dex roll, just if your dex is higher, you go to 42. 42. The turf sinks beneath your feet, and stones crumble from its edge. Alarmed, you grip the building and ease yourself forward. Finally, you have a good spot to watch the beacon. You lie concealed in the grass and watch the activity around the beacon. Villagers bring in yet more bundles of tinder and stack them in neat bundles. Another shift passes the bundles up to a pair of men standing on the raised platform of the beacon. They're constructing a triangular structure resembling a gigantic campfire. As you watch, you are struck by the manner of the laborers. This is their festival. You would expect a cheerful atmosphere and some light-hearted conversation. Yet the faces of some show resignation and detachment, others a naked dread. You watch for a good half hour before you slip away. Okay, we are back to those choices. Once we've done 3, we go somewhere else. So we have one more chance to explore a little bit. We can go alone to the village hall. We can check out the artisan's courtyard. Or we can head down the road and try and flee out of town. And yeah, we have been spending some of our luck, yes. So we're heading out to the village hall, the artisan's courtyard, or fleeing out of town. Got the artisan's courtyard. Time for your human sacrifice. Kind of getting that feeling, yes. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're going to try the artisan's courtyard. Yes. Okay. You approach around the back of the buildings in Emberhead's northwestern corner. By this time in the morning, you would expect activity in the artisan's courtyard, but the benches and anvils sit deserted. Your footsteps echo off the surrounding walls. One of the workshops is shut up and padlocked. You peek through the joints, but you can see nothing inside. To try to crack the padlock, go to 225. To physically break into the locked workshop, go to 232. To move on to another area, go to 120. We have 1% in locksmith. We have 80 in strength. So if we're going to try and get in, I think we do it physically. But do we try and move in, or do we get out of here? Physically break in. Okay. 232. You examine the workshop. It's well constructed, but the wood has been weakened by years of sun and rain. You may be able to break it open with one fierce charge. You'd better make it good, though. Can't afford to attract attention with repeated tries. So we make a strength roll. Strength is 80. We roll 50. We succeed, 244. You push aside the door and step into the workshop. The air is cool against your face, and you see light glinting through the eaves. The center of the room features a raised slab with a slight slope. An indentation beneath it suggests something sits there. A basin, perhaps? Prone shapes are racked against the far wall, covered with red cloth. They look human. To investigate further, go to 250. If you've seen enough, go to 120. I think we've established that this is the kind of person who keeps going. So 250. You approach the red-shrouded figures, expecting them at any moment to leap up and grab at you. There are 3. Each has a label hanging from its toes. Benjamin Kramer, January 19th, 1927. Abraham Hollingsworth, April 22nd, 1927. Marion Phipps, August 6th, 1927. You lift one corner of the shroud. Underneath, wrapped in tight bandages, is a thin but unmistakably human form. You are looking at 3 dead bodies, embalmed dead bodies. Make a sanity roll. Okay, that is a 20 under 39. So we pass. Had we failed, we would have lost 1d2 sanity points, but we don't. So 256. So, I thought you looked like a snoop. Like what you found, did you? A burly villager fills the doorway, blocking out much of the daylight. You can make out a dark apron and a thick beard. He steps forward, fist raised. To surrender without a fight, go to 108. To fight the artisan, go to 262. Do we surrender or do we fight? For what it's worth, our fighting brawl is 25. Our dodge is 30. Fight, fight, fight. Okay. You struggle with the huge man. His fists come out of the darkness like hammers. Okay. Sorry, there's an explanation here of how the combat works. Higher dex X. Okay. Dex of 41. Our dex is 60, so we go first. Oof. Okay. All right. So the artisan has 12 HP, 35% brawl. 1d3 plus 1d4. If you are unarmed, the damage is 1d3 plus your damage bonus. Can somebody remind me how you calculate your damage bonus? I don't. Oh, wait. Nope. The character sheet did it for me. So 1d4. Okay. Well, okay. So we each do 1d3 plus 1d4. That's not too bad. After 3 rounds, you may attempt to circle around behind the man and escape. Requires a hard roll. You don't. Okay. So we go first. We try brawl, which is 25%. That is a fail. He swings at us. He's got a 35% brawl. That's an 84. Okay, so that's 1 round. Neither one of us is terribly good at this. Second round, I've got a 60. He's got an 89. Oh man, this fight is not quite as devastating as I was thinking it might be. Oof. 83 for our attack. His third attack is 69. Okay, after 3 rounds, you may attempt to circle round behind the man and escape. This requires a hard roll. If you don't achieve a success on the roll, he may land another blow. Doesn't actually say a hard what. All right. I'm going to assume that that's a dodge, which is 30. So 41, I'm going to spend some luck to get us out of this. That's 30. It'll take us to 33 luck, and we successfully escape. You sidestep and slip out of the workshop. As the artisan follows, you swing the door into his face. He staggers back, a hand to his nose. You take the opportunity to flee. You can investigate further if you'd like, but perhaps it will be wiser to leave town. You check mark the small box beside the dodge skill. No, we can't because I used luck. And then we go to 120. You feel a deepening unease about Emberhead and this day in particular. Once you've attempted 3 options, you go to 98. We've already checked the bedroom. We've already checked out the courtyard. We've already checked out the beacon. So we've done 3. So we are going to 98. You are contemplating your next move when you see one villager, a bald man with a damaged ear, watching you intently. Some instinct makes you walk in the other direction. Then you see the others, ahead, and to your sides. A wary teenager, an evil-eyed matron, a man hefting a club. They're not staring as obviously as the first, but they keep you under watch, and they are closing in. You cannot hope to overcome 4 of them at once. To try to lose them among the buildings, go to 158. To run for it, go to 164. Okay. Do we want to slip away in the buildings? Or do we want to just plain run? And yeah, Lamb Fam, I agree. We were just having a slappy fight. Lose them in the buildings or run? Yeah, we are trying to escape. It's just a question of how we're doing it. We are running for it. 164. These people know their village better than you. You pick the biggest gap between them and sprint into it. They give chase. You find yourself heading for the southern road. As you approach, you see 4 villagers stationed in the middle of the road, clearly guards. You veer off towards the half-ruined church, already breathing hard. You slip inside the building through a broken window and duck under the elderly boards which slash the interior, making for the door on the other side. The door is quite intact, moldy, and locked. 2 of your pursuers climb into the church through the window. The other 2 enter by the main door. Give it up. One thumps his club into his palm. It'll go better for you if you don't resist. They close in. You're getting low on options. To give yourself up, go to 108. To try to collapse a section of roof on them, go to 176. You ready to surrender, or are we trying to collapse a church on their heads? Mr. Opinion says roof. Roof, 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 roof. Okay. 176. Even as you spin around and look for a weak point, you know this plan is deranged. Less than 2 days ago, you were taking a coach ride to a new job. Now you're trying to demolish a church whilst still inside it. Under one section of partially collapsed roof, you see a wooden pillar which is already bowed. You snatch up a piece of broken ironwork. Make a hard strength roll. Our strength is 80, so hard is 40. Okay, that is a 47. That is close enough for me. We're going to go ahead and spend a little bit of luck. We now have 26 luck points. We succeed, we go to 189. You smash the pillar at its most distorted point. You hear a crack, so you draw back your weapon and smash it again. The pillar buckles and snaps. Thunder sounds above your head. You have a frozen moment of satisfaction as your pursuers look up in synchronized, wide-eyed horror. Then the ceiling falls in. Make a luck roll. If you succeed, go to 204. If you fail, go to 196. Okay, we have 26 points of luck left. Oh, okay. I was about to feel guilty for spending so much luck along the way, but that is a 92. It would have been a fail anyway. So we go to 196. An immense weight pounds you to the stone floor. Your neck snaps even as your skull shatters. You have been killed by a collapsing church roof. It was a bold but risky plan. Why not try the adventure again? The end. And that, friends of the Symphony, is where our show will end for the night. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in and or is currently watching the replay. With apologies to Folgers Coffee, you are indeed the best part of waking up. We sincerely appreciate all of you. Again, if you enjoyed this content, please consider helping the Symphony make more by backing us on Patreon at patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. We hope you've enjoyed the Symphony, and we look forward to seeing you again. Have a wonderful night.